everybody. Welcome to Calling All Kids. As you can tell from my guests today, this is a Halloween special. But October is not only the month for Halloween, it is also Fire Prevention Month. So in this half hour, we're going to do Halloween and fire prevention. There's one special announcement first. It's Brian's birthday today. He's 5. Everybody say happy birthday, Brian.
Happy birthday, Brian.
And now I have a surprise for everybody. I'm the only one that knows this. We have a very special guest here to join us while I read the fire prevention book. And guess who it is? Who is it? Who's this?
Sparky.
It's Sparky. Hi, Sparky. Isn't everybody excited?
Yeah.
He's going to join us today while we read our fire prevention book. Come on over, Sparky. See if you can find a seat. Everybody say hi, Sparky.
Hi, Sparky.
Can you make it, Spark? We're so lucky to have him. And I brought a fire hat to wear while I read this story. I hope it doesn't fall off. Nope, it won't fall off. There you go, Spark. Can you sit down there? There you go. All right. Aren't we lucky to have Sparky with us today?
Yes.
That's really neat. And Mr. Turkey is joining us today, too. We're really lucky. Well, the book we're going to read for fire prevention is called The Little Fire Engine That Saved the City. Let's find out what happens. It was a great day in town when the little fire engine was delivered to the brand new firehouse on Elm Street. The town was small then, but it was growing and growing fast. You could tell the little fire engine was happy to have such a nice, clean firehouse for his home, for he was always smiling. On that first day in the firehouse, one of the firefighters patted his fender and said, "This isn't a very big fire engine, but it's strong and very handsome. We have a truly fine fire department now." Does anybody see a Dalmatian in the picture?
No.
Anyone see
Right by the wall.
right by the wall?
And I see his bone.
And you see his bone too? The little fire engine felt so proud that he tooted 4 times on his air horn. Toot, 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 toot. The firefighters all laughed and named him engine number 4. Why do you think they named him engine number 4?
I don't know.
Bethany?
Because he tooted 4 times.
Because he tooted 4 times. Good job. One of them painted a big gold 4 on each of his doors. Every time there was a fire in town, the firefighters would race to the firehouse, crank up his engine, and drive number 4 off to fight the fire. There was much excitement as they pulled the long white hose through the streets and as the fire chief shouted orders through a slender silver trumpet. Engine 4 would puff and grind to pump the water through the hoses and onto the fire. What does it look like is burning in this picture?
The house.
Haley, what's burning?
The house.
The house is burning. After each fire, the firefighters would take Engine 4 back to the firehouse, and there they would give him a good scrubbing down, especially firefighter Jim, who would take extra special care to buff and polish the fenders and doors and chrome air filter with the softest rags until the little fire engine glistened proud and ready for the next alarm. What is the Dalmatian doing in this picture? Raise your hand if you know. Brian, what is he doing?
He's in the water. It has soap.
What do you think he's doing in the water, Tyler? What do you think he's doing in the water?
I don't know.
You don't know, Stacia?
Spanking it.
Maybe he's drinking it. Well, let's see if it tells us. As the years passed, the town grew into a big city. The fire department grew too, and there was another fire engine sitting in the firehouse. It was sleek and shiny and very big. Number 4 was happy to have another friend in the firehouse, but the new fire engine was not very friendly and hardly ever smiled. And what is different about the new fire engine? What's different about it? What's different about it? Craigie. What's different about it, Stacia?
It's green and it's bigger.
It's green and it's bigger. Caitlin, do you see any other differences?
It never smiles.
It's not smiling like the old fire truck. Bethany?
The dog is eating.
And the dog is eating. And what is the dog's name? Who knows? Who can see what the dog's name is? Mr. Turkey, do you know? Can you see it? You're right. He said Fred. He is a smart turkey. Then things began to change. At fires, the little fire engine noticed that he had no longer placed right up front to fight the flames. Instead, the firefighters kept him off to the side and put the new fire engine up front. At one fire, where number 4 was doing a particularly good job of spraying his water through the roof of a burning building, the new fire engine moved right up the front and blocked number 4 from spraying any water at all. Well, number 4 was more than a little disappointed, but he did not let it show to the firefighters. He kept smiling because he was still glad to be a part of the fire department, and he knew deep in his heart that he was as good a pumper as any fire engine ever made. What's burning in this picture? What's burning in this picture, Caitlin? What's it look like? Looks like a house. That sounds good to me. Back at the firehouse, though, the little fire engine also noticed that the firefighters seemed to care more about the new fire engine than about him. Even firefighter Jim began to shine the new fire engine after each alarm and hardly ever washed number 4 as he used to. Well, number 4 thought, at least I'm still pumping water at the fires, and that's an important job. So what if people don't fuss over me the way they used to? But since the firefighters were not keeping number 4 in tip-top condition, his fittings began to rust, and he began to collect little dents and scratches all over his body. Soon after, he heard a firefighter say, "Good old number 4 is not what he used to be." Even firefighter Jim agreed. How do you think that made number 4 feel? How do you think that made him feel?
Upset.
Maybe a little sad. What do you think, Tyler?
Upset.
Upset? Yep. What do you think, Brian? Maybe happy? Why, you think he's kind of tired of the job, maybe? No? You're not sure? Well, let's see. One day a firefighter came to the firehouse, cranked up the engine, and drove number 4 out of the firehouse and through the streets of the city. The little fire engine wondered where he was going. He knew he was not going to a fire because no one was pressing on his siren, on his air horn, and no one was clanging the brass bell that lay on top of his water pumps. After a long drive, they came to an old warehouse on the other side of the city. The doors were open and number 4 was backed into a corner of the building. What do you think they're going to do with him? They backed him into a building, an old building. What do you think they're going to do with him there, Bethany?
They might crush him and make other stuff out of him.
Maybe. I certainly hope not, but let's see. The doors were open and number 4 was backed into a corner of the building. As he watched the firefighter leave and close the doors, he realized he was being abandoned. It seemed that the fire department did not need him anymore, and there in the quiet of the warehouse, number 4 felt little drops of moisture running down the side of his soiled chrome bumper. What do you think that was? What do you think that was dripping down the front of him? Haley? Tears. Many years went by and the little fire engine passed the time away by whistling, tooting, and trying to keep happy. But he did not like being alone, and he did not like having nothing to do even more. He felt useless. Every so often a firefighter would come in to look around, but he never paid much attention to number 4. No one noticed that the little fire engine had gathered more than a full inch of dust on its fenders. It seemed certain that everyone had forgotten about him. Then one day the doors of the firehouse suddenly swung open and 2 firefighters ran toward number 4. He saw that one of the men was firefighter Jim. How happy that made him to see his old friend. And then he heard firefighter Jim say, "The fire chief needs every piece of equipment we can find to fight the biggest fire the city has ever seen." Would have liked to be there. Firefighter Jim then began to turn the crank. He turned it once and then twice, but nothing happened. He rubbed a rag across the little fire engine's air filter and sneezed in the dust. Number 4 almost sneezed too and wished with all his might that firefighter Jim would try again, and he did, but still nothing happened. Oh, how disappointed number 4 was. But then firefighter Jim cranked again as hard as anyone had ever cranked, and the little fire engine at first began to cough and then to choke and then to wheeze, but finally the little fire engine's motor began to turn on his own, and then it revived up to full power. Number 4 smiled with happiness, for he was running again and his motor ran as smoothly as he ever remembered it running. Firefighter Jim smiled broadly and said, "Well, good old number 4 sounds as good as new." The little fire engine felt as good as new too. He felt terrific. The firefighters drove quickly through the streets and the soot came off number 4's fenders in great clouds with each bump they drove over. The siren and air horn made everybody's head turn. The cars in front of them pulled over, giving them lots of room to pass by. It was a real emergency, and they could see the red flames in the distance as they raced towards the fire. Can you see all right, Mr. Turkey? Okay, I'm glad. Still one of the best, Firefighter Jim said. Number 4 beamed. Maybe that old fire engine can make the difference in winning or losing the fight against this fire, the chief said. A firefighter ran up to the chief. We've got all of our fire engines pumping now, he cried, and the fire is still out of control. The chief then told Firefighter Jim to connect number 4 to the fire hydrant and to start pumping water. Maybe this little fire engine, he said, will be the one to save the city. Oh, Firefighter Jim exclaimed, I think he can do it. But number 4 wasn't so certain of himself. He was rusty after all, and he began to worry that his water pump wasn't strong enough to push the water through. The fire was getting bigger, and now almost a full city block was filled with burning buildings. Firefighters were racing ladders while other firefighters aimed their hoses through open windows. The chief was giving orders through a radio he wore over his shoulder. We'll need more water, he said, if we are going to stop this fire from spreading to the next street. Come on, number 4, Firefighter Jim yelled. You can do it. We need more water, and you'll have to pump at full pressure. Number 4 took a deep breath and began to pump harder than ever. His gauge began to rise, then slowly and steadily at first, and he watched nervously as he passed the halfway mark. But suddenly the gauge stopped again, just below the full pressure mark. The little fire engine was very disappointed and felt as though he was going to cry. He had tried to pump as hard as he could, but it didn't work, and now he was exhausted. Don't give up, number 4, said Firefighter Jim. Don't give up now. The fire department really needs me, number 4 thought. He knew he had to try just one more time, and he swallowed hard so he would not cry. Strong firefighters do not cry, he remembered, especially in emergencies. He closed his eyes then and thought only about pumping water. He revived his engine up just a little bit more and pulled and pushed so hard that his whole body was shaking. And he pumped and pumped and he pumped until Firefighter Jim yelled, He's doing it! He's pumping at full pressure! Then number 4 opened his eyes and saw with amazement that the fire was beginning to grow smaller and smaller. It was his water that was making the difference. Look at number 4 pump, the firefighter shouted. Good old number 4 is doing it. Soon the fire was out altogether. The firefighters cheered and the fire chief cheered. The people in the streets who were watching cheered. Good old number 4 is a great fire engine. Everybody cheered. Yay! Said one little boy. Yay! All right. Afterward, the firefighters took the little fire engine back to a very modern firehouse, and there they gave him a bumper-to-bumper cleaning. They even cleaned his tires. Gee, number 4 thought, it feels great to be so clean. Then they buffed and buffed until they were satisfied with their work. That fire engine has character, one firefighter said. Good old number 4 looks good enough to have his picture taken, said another. Several days later, Firefighter Jim drove the little fire engine to a big and beautiful building. It was the newest firehouse in the city. Inside there was a space surrounded by velvet ropes. It looked like the corner of a beautiful museum. Standing right in front was a big gold lettered sign, engine number 4. It said, the little fire engine that saved the city. There was a celebration then. The fire chief came and the mayor of the city too. They said that it was the little fire engine's water that had saved the city, and that he would always have a special place in his new firehouse, and that's where he is now, waiting for the next big alarm. And do you think the little fire engine is happy now?
Yeah. Yes.
I bet he is, huh? Well, Sparky can only stay for a short time. He just can stay for that book. So why doesn't everybody thank him for coming? Thank you, Sparky. And say goodbye.
Bye.
See you later. Thanks a lot, Sparky.
Bye, Sparky.
So those of you out there, you can very well see, all of my guests today are dressed up in their Halloween costumes. Now, who can guess what it is I am trying to be?
Sparky. A fireman.
Nope, that was just for the story. Who can guess what I am trying to be? Craigie. A cheerleader. Yes, I was one in high school only 6 years ago, not 20. Anyways, let's talk to some of our guests today. Brian, what are you? Let's turn around and face the camera and tell the camera who you are today. Who are you?
A Dalmatian.
You're a Dalmatian. And why did you want to be a Dalmatian? Because you like them, maybe?
No, because I thought you would be a firewoman.
Because why?
I thought you would be dressed up like a firewoman.
Oh, I see. Well, you look great. And Craigie, what are you today?
Vampire.
You're a vampire. And why did you want to be a vampire? You don't know? You just decided you wanted to be a vampire? And who made your costume?
I brought it.
Oh, you just brought it? Oh, it was already made? Oh, good. And Tyler, who are you today?
Power Ranger.
You're a Power Ranger. And you're what color Power Ranger?
A blue.
A blue one. And what is the Power Ranger's name?
Billy.
Billy. And you love the Power Rangers, don't you? You were showing me yesterday some of your moves. They're pretty good.
I like Power Rangers too.
A lot of
Me
people
too.
like Power
Me
Rangers,
too.
huh? They
Me
do.
too.
Heather, what are you? Why don't you stand up for the camera and show them your little outfit? You can stand right up there if you'd like. Let's see if we can guess what Heather is.
M&M.
An M&M. That's a pretty... Oh, Mr. Turkey likes your costume, too. Now, Heather, how did you get that costume?
My mom made it.
Your mommy made it. And are you a regular M&M or a peanut M&M?
A regular.
You're a regular M&M. Well, I hope I don't get too hungry later. I think I'll be all right. Bethany, what are you today?
I'm a princess.
You're a princess. And where did you get your costume?
My mom bought it a long time ago.
Oh, she bought it a long time ago. And why did you want to be a princess?
I just wanted to.
You just like being a princess? Well, you look very beautiful. And Ryan, who are you today? Look into the camera and tell me who you are today.
Spider-Man.
You're Spider-Man. And do you watch Spider-Man on TV?
Yeah.
And do you like Spider-Man? He's a good guy, huh? He saves everybody? Well, you look really great. And then we have Stacia in the back. And what do you think Stacia is? Stacia, what are you today?
Black cat.
You're a black cat. And who made your costume? Did you do it?
Me and my mom kind of put it together.
You and your mom kind of put it together. Now, are you going to have something warm to wear if it's cold on Halloween night?
Probably.
Probably, yep. Well, you look beautiful. And then we have Haley in the back there. Haley, what are you today?
A witch.
You're a witch. And look at you. Do you have a broom?
Yeah.
You do. You have a broom. And where did you get your costume?
I got it a long time ago.
Oh, you got it a long time ago. So this is an old costume that you brought today. What are you going to be for Halloween, Haley?
A snow queen.
You're going to be a snow queen. So Mommy's probably still working on that costume, right? Okay, and Caitlin, you're our next. What are you today?
A witch.
You're a witch. We have two witches today. And look at those nails Caitlin has on. Where did you get those nails?
My mom bought it somewhere.
She bought them. She buy them at Osco. That's where the kids tell me you can get all your costumes. Just go to Osco.
I did.
You didn't go to Osco? No? Those
I
are
did.
really neat. You did? Are those sharp, Caitlin?
Kind of.
Kind of, but not too bad in case you run into somebody, right? Because you probably will with those nails, huh?
Yeah, but if you do this, you run into somebody and hurt.
That's right. So, well, you look beautiful. And what do you have in your basket, Caitlin?
M&M's.
You have M&Ms. Oh, no. You better stay away, Heather. Well, we also have a guest today, Mr. Turkey. And Mr. Turkey would like to talk to us a little bit. Mr. Turkey, how are you today? Oh, you're great. I am so glad that you could sit in with us today. Do you celebrate Halloween? And do you like Halloween, Mr. Turkey? You probably like every holiday. Oh, you really love it. You really love it, huh? You probably like every holiday except for Thanksgiving, right? You'd probably rather just breeze by that one, huh? Well, Mr. Turkey, I think, has some of his costume on. What do you think Mr. Turkey is trying to be? Raise your hand if you know. Raise your hand if you know. Caitlin, what do you think Mr. Turkey is trying to be? Give us a hint, Mr. Turkey. Well, look at the top of his head, he said. Look at the top of his head. Look at the top of his head. What do you think maybe he is? Haley.
A pirate.
A pirate. Mr. Turkey, is that right? He is a pirate, and hopefully you'll be able to make it through Thanksgiving. We hope you make it through Thanksgiving, Mr. Turkey. We hope to see you next year.
Where's Sparky?
Sparky had to go home.
Why?
But thank you, Mr. Turkey. I hope you're going to sit in for our next book. Are you going to stay for our next book? Oh, good. Great. Well, since it is our Halloween show, we have one more book, and this is called Nanny Noonie and the Magic Spell. This is really exciting.
I
Wait,
have that.
you have that, Bethany?
I got a book out on the library
Yep.
at my school, and it was about magic.
It was about magic. Well,
But it was a chapter book.
But it was a chapter book? Well, let's see this. Where is the milk? Asked the farmer's wife. The cow won't give a drop, said the farmer. Where are the eggs? Asked the farmer's wife. The hens have stopped laying, said the farmer. I'll have to go to market to buy our breakfast. He climbed on his mule, but the animal kicked and brayed, knocking the farmer to the ground. "That sheep is going bald," said the farmer's wife, picking up the clumps of wool scattered over the barnyard. "And something's ailing that pig. What's wrong with the pig? What is wrong with the pig?" Heather.
He's upside down.
He's laying upside down with his feet up in the air. Oh no, maybe he's nervous about a pig roast. I don't know. He just lies on his back, staring up at the sky. The farmer and his wife each blamed the other for their misfortunes, and soon they were fighting noisily. The cat, who had been out all night, came home to the sound of angry voices. "Good morning," said the cat to the chickens, who flapped their wings and pecked him. "Lovely morning," the cat greeted the sheep. My wool," bleated the sheep, zigzagging in circles. "Bah!" What is happening to the wool on the sheep? Bethany.
The sheep's wool is coming off.
The sheep's wool is coming off. Why do you think the sheep's wool is coming off? Brian.
Because it's magic.
Because maybe it's magic, maybe something's making it come off?
Yeah.
"I don't believe it," thought the cat as he looked up and saw the cow eating the roof of the farmhouse. "How did she get up there?" the cat said to the pig, but the pig didn't bat an eye. "What's wrong with everyone?" the cat asked his friend the mule, and to his great surprise, the mule kicked him. "That settles it," said the cat. "I'm going visiting until everyone around here gets normal again." The first farm he came to looked cozy and friendly until a big dog came running out of the farmhouse and almost caught the cat's tail. There was no dog at the next farm, but the fat calico cat who lived there arched her back and hissed, "This farm isn't big enough for the both of us." What do you think that cat is doing? Why do you think that cat has that look on his face? Haley. What do you think he's thinking? You're not sure, maybe? Not sure? That's okay. Brian, what do you think he's thinking? Look at his face. What do you think he's thinking? You don't know? You're not sure? Well, let's find out. "Ha, ha, ha. You're smart not to mess with that calico." Looking up at the cat saw a big, red-eyed blackbird sitting in a tree. "You look troubled, friend," said the blackbird. "Maybe I can help." "I haven't heard a kind word all day," said the cat, and he told the blackbird of the trouble on his farm. "It's a mystery. It may seem like a mystery to you, but up there in the sky I can see more than you folks on the ground." "Do you mean you know why everyone is acting so strangely?" "I do," said the blackbird. "Nanny Noonie has put a hex on your farm." And a hex means a curse. Who do you think Nanny Noonie is? What do you think Nanny Noonie is, Stacia?
Witch.
You think she's a witch? Well, let's see. "Who is Nanny Noonie?" asked the cat. "She's a witch," said the blackbird. "Why would she hex our farm?" "Because she is wicked. Witches don't need any more reason than that," said the blackbird. "But you could undo the spell if you had her book of potions. All her secrets are written down in it." "Where is this witch?" asked the cat. "In there." The blackbird pointed a feather toward the thick, dark woods. "Thank you," said the cat, and he walked bravely into the woods. "So long, friend," said the blackbird, and he flew away. In the thickest, darkest part of the woods, the cat came upon a huge tree with a door and a window and a smoking chimney in it. "I've climbed many a tree, but I've never seen one like that before," the cat said to himself, and he climbed up and looked in the window. Inside, he saw a tiny old woman stirring a big black bowl. She sang, "Nanny Noonie is my name, brewing potions is my game." Now, if you were the cat, would you go inside?
Yeah.
Craigie would. Nope, Stacia wouldn't. Brian, would you go inside if you saw that witch in there and she was singing that song?
Yeah.
You would? You're brave.
I'd go in quiet.
You'd go in quietly. On top of her head, tied tightly in place with a red bandana, was a book. What do you think that book is?
I will go in loud.
You would? What do you think that book is? Stacia.
Her magic potion.
Her book of potions. "Come in," said Nanny Noonie without turning around. "I know you're there. Does this witch have eyes in the back of her head?" Now, how did the witch know that he was there? If you look very closely, you'll see how she could tell that he was there without turning around. It's in the picture. You have to look real closely. It's around this area here. Craigie, how?
Looking at the reflection.
He sees the cat's reflection in the bowl, so she knows he's there. If only I can knock that book off her head, thought the cat, climbing through the window. He arched his back and with all his strength bumped the stool Nanny Noonie stood on. The old woman toppled to the floor. "What are you trying to do?" cried Nanny Noonie. "Break my back?" The book stayed firmly on her head. As Nanny Noonie stood up, the cat ran between her feet, knocking her right out of her wooden shoes, but the book of potions did not budge. "What's the matter with you, cat? You wicked old witch," the cat hissed. "You put a spell on my farm." "Where'd you hear that nonsense?" asked Nanny Noonie. "A red-eyed blackbird told me," began the cat. "Say no more," answered Nanny Noonie. "Old Evil Eye is up to his tricks again. That bird's the one who put a spell on your farm." "He says she did, and she says he did," thought the cat. "I don't know who to believe." Ha, ha, ha! Suddenly the blackbird flew into the tree trunk. "Shoo, Evil Eye!" Nanny Noonie swung her broom in the air. "I'll have none of your mischief around here." Now, who do you think is the bad one? Do you think it's the witch, or do you think it's the bird?
The witch. The witch.
The witch? Who thinks it's the bird? Haley?
I think it's both.
You think it's both. "Did you see that friend?" the blackbird cried. "She tried to kill me." "Begone," said Nanny Noonie, "before someone bakes you into a pie." "Ow!" the blackbird moaned. "She's putting a spell on me." He fluttered about in the air, twitched once, and fell to the floor in a heap of black feathers. "He's faking," said Nanny Noonie. "He hopes to catch me off guard so that he can steal my book of potions. It contains the remedies for all his evil spells." The cat stared at the blackbird lying stone still. "I don't believe her," he decided. "Mr. Turkey, who do you think is the bad one? Do you think it's the witch or the bird?" He thinks it's the bird. Well, think it's the bird? Even though he's a bird, he thinks it's a bird too. "Meow," the cat began to sob. "First my farm, then my friend. Now I fear this witch is going to put a spell on me." His whiskers grew quite soggy with tears. "Poor thing," said Nanny Noonie. "Here, dry your eyes." And she untied her red bandana and gave it to the cat. Instantly, the blackbird streaked through the air and plucked the book of potions off Nanny Noonie's head. "Ha, ha, ha," crackled the blackbird. "Now the book is mine, and no one can undo my spells." "I warned you not to trust that villain," said Nanny Noonie. "Nice work, friend," the blackbird said to the cat. "You deserve a reward. How about a little game of cat and mouse? Point a feather at this kitty, see him shrink and have no pity." The cat grew smaller and smaller until he was looking at himself in the side of the bright copper tea kettle. He was no bigger than a nutshell. What happened to the kitty? What happened to the kitty? Tyler, can you see what happened to the kitty? He's really, what, Stacia?
Really small.
He's really small. He shrunk. "Here, Mousy, Mousy," called the blackbird, and a big fat mouse scurried in through a hole in the tree trunk. "You look hungry, Mr. Mouse," said the blackbird. "How about a nice, juicy kitty cat for dinner?" The mouse, who was a giant to the shrunken cat, began chasing him around the floor. "Not so fast," said Nanny Noonie, reaching into her apron pocket. She tossed a chunk of cheese in front of the mouse, who stopped in his tracks and began nibbling at it. "You meddlesome old crone," said the blackbird, "point a feather at my foe, make her eyebrows white with snow." A frosty gust of wind blew through the tree trunk, leaving Nanny Noonie frozen solid. "Enough of this sport," said the blackbird, pointing at the cat. "I'm afraid I must bid you farewell, friend." The cat looked desperately for a place to hide. "Point a feather at my foe, see him vanish head to toe." Just as the blackbird uttered the last words of the spell, the cat jumped into the tea kettle. "Gadzook!" shrieked the blackbird, pointing at his own reflection in the side of the kettle. "I put a spell on myself!" And he vanished into thin air from head to toe. At the same moment, the ice around Nanny Noonie melted and the cat popped back to his normal size. Meanwhile, back at the farm, the cow gave milk, the hens laid eggs, and the sheep's wool grew thick and the mules stopped kicking. "What happened?" asked the pig, standing up and shaking himself. The farmer and his wife kissed and made up. Nanny Noonie brewed a special potion for the farmer, and he had the biggest, juiciest harvest in the land. So who was the bad guy in this story? Who was the bad guy? Turkey. Okay, Mr. Turkey, who was the bad guy? You're right, it was the bird. Well, everybody, thanks again for joining us, and thanks to all of my guests who look absolutely wonderful tonight. Everybody say goodbye, and we'll see you next time.
Bye. We'll see you next time.